All right, let's dive into this, huh? We're going deep on Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power,
Okay.
specifically Law 12.
Right.
Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a fascinating one.
Choice. Yeah.
A choice, yeah, and one that might seem kind of counterintuitive at first, right?
Yeah.
You don't usually associate honesty and generosity with power.
Right. But Green argues that when used strategically, they can be really formidable tools.
Like, it's like playing a game of psychological chess, right? You're
Right.
not just trying to overpower, your opponent. You're trying to outsmart them
Exactly.
by anticipating their moves
Yeah.
and subtly influencing their decisions.
And Law 12 is all about understanding that people are naturally suspicious. Like, we've evolved to be wary of manipulation.
Hmm.
So when someone appears genuinely honest or generous, it throws us off guard.
Right.
Mm.
It's like a Trojan horse, right?
Right.
You're lowering their defenses with this display of sincerity.
Mm.
And then before you even realize what's happening, you're more open to their suggestions and ideas.
Precisely.
Mm.
It's about creating a carefully crafted perception.
Yeah.
Think of it like a magician using misdirection. A small act of honesty
Uh-huh.
or a seemingly selfless gesture can completely overshadow other motives, allowing you to kind of steer the situation in your favor.
So let's look at some historical examples to kind of bring this law to life, right? The script mentions King Henry IV of France,
Okay.
a master of this tactic.
Interesting.
He famously converted to Catholicism
Oh, wow.
during a time of intense religious conflict,
Yeah.
declaring that Paris is well worth a mass.
Well, King Henry, regardless of whether his conversion was genuine or simply a strategic maneuver, the impact was undeniable. Like, this single act shifted the entire political landscape of France.
Well, think about the context here, right? I mean, religious tensions were running super high.
Yeah.
And Henry's conversion was it was brilliant. I mean, it disarmed his Catholic opponents.
Right.
It pacified a large portion of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it helped him consolidate his power.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It was a master class in using selective honesty to achieve a larger goal.
Mm-hmm.
And notice the timing here, too.
Yeah.
Henry chose to convert just when the stakes were the highest,
Right.
maximizing the impact of his decision.
So timing is key, right? It's not just about what you reveal
Mm-hmm.
or how generous you are. It's about choosing the right moment
Mm-hmm.
for maximum effect.
Absolutely. Let's take a modern example. Like, imagine you're in a tough negotiation.
Okay.
Everyone's dug in their heels and tensions are running high.
Yeah.
Now, instead of pushing back even harder, you offer a small but seemingly significant concession.
Right.
Something that costs you little but appears valuable to the other side.
So you're disarming them with a well-placed act of generosity,
Exactly.
making them feel like they won something.
Exactly. And that shift in perception can be crucial. It fosters trust, it lowers their guard,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes them more likely to agree to your larger terms in the long run.
So this reminds me of another fascinating figure mentioned in the script,
Okay.
John D. Rockefeller,
Hmm.
the oil tycoon,
Right.
who used philanthropy to kind of reshape his public image.
Rockefeller's a classic case study. I mean, his business practices were often ruthless and controversial,
Right.
but his strategic philanthropy helped soften his image
Mm-hmm.
and create a more favorable public narrative.
So while his donations undeniably did a lot of good, right?
Yeah.
Were they purely altruistic, or was there an element of calculated self-interest at play?
That's a complex question.
Yeah.
And one that historians still debate. But there's no doubt that Rockefeller understood the power of perception.
Mm-hmm.
His philanthropy created like a halo effect,
Right.
casting him in a more positive light,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately benefiting his business empire.
It makes you wonder, how much of philanthropy throughout history has been driven, at least in part, by a desire to shape public image and influence opinion.
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it speaks to the subtle power dynamics that underpin so much of human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're constantly trying to influence each other's perceptions, whether we're aware of it or not.
And so it's not just about grand gestures like religious conversions
Hmm.
or massive philanthropic endeavors, right? The script also emphasizes the power of smaller, more personal acts of generosity.
Absolutely. Think about it. A well-timed compliment,
Right.
a sincere apology,
Mm-hmm.
or even just, lending a listening ear when someone needs it. These small acts can be incredibly um, disarming and build powerful connections.
Because they make people feel, seen and heard.
Hmm.
Like you're saying, I value you,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to invest my time and energy in our relationship.
Precisely. And those small gestures of emotional generosity can um, create a powerful sense of obligation and reciprocity.
Right.
People naturally want to repay kindness,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
and that can be leveraged subtly but effectively.
So you're cultivating loyalty,
Right.
whether consciously or not, right?
Exactly.
You're creating a bond that can be incredibly beneficial down the line.
And this brings us to a cautionary tale. Victor Lustig, the infamous con artist,
Okay.
who managed to sell the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow.
Not once, but twice.
Okay, you got my attention. Tell me about this Victor Lustig.
So Lustig was a master manipulator
Yeah.
who understood the power of selective honesty. He'd gained his victim's trust by revealing a small truth or admitting to a minor flaw,
Right.
making himself appear genuine and trustworthy.
Like disarming them with his own vulnerability, right?
Exactly.
Setting them up for the con.
Exactly. Lustig knew that a small dose of honesty could make his larger lies more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
His story serves as a potent reminder that while these techniques can be used for good
Yeah.
in the wrong hands, they can be incredibly dangerous.
So we're working a tightrope here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fine line between using these techniques ethically and slipping into, manipulation.
Which raises an important question. Where do we draw that line? When does strategic honesty and generosity cross over into something more sinister?
That's something to ponder for sure. But before we get, too lost in the ethical weeds here, let's bring in a modern example of Law 12 in action. Warren Buffett.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
The Oracle of Omaha.
Oracle of Omaha.
Buffett's known for his folksy demeanor, his straightforward approach, and his willingness to openly share his investment strategies.
Which seems counterintuitive in the cutthroat world of finance, right?
You would think.
I mean, you'd think he'd want to keep his secrets close to the vest,
Right.
but that transparency is a key part of his success, right?
Mm-hmm.
It builds trust, attracts loyal investors, and reinforces his image as this wise and benevolent figure.
It's like he's saying, "I'm so good at this that I can afford to share my knowledge with the world."
Right.
And that level of confidence is incredibly disarming,
Yeah.
especially in an industry that's often shrouded in secrecy.
Right. Right.
Precisely.
Yep.
And when you combine that transparency with his well-known philanthropy,
Right.
you have a powerful recipe for cultivating a positive public image and shaping public opinion.
So Buffett's he's a living embodiment of Law 12 in action, right?
Mhm.
He's demonstrating how selective honesty and generosity, when deployed authentically and consistently,
Mm.
can lead to extraordinary success.
Yeah, he certainly is. And
Yeah.
and his approach offers valuable lessons for all of us, regardless of our field or profession.
Okay. So we've explored the theory. We've delved into history. We've even looked at modern examples. But let's get practical.
Yep.
How can our listeners, apply Law 12 in their own lives?
Well, firstly, it's crucial to identify situations where trust is paramount. Think about those moments when you need someone to buy into your vision,
Yeah.
to believe in your sincerity,
Mm-hmm.
or to feel confident in your leadership.
So moments like negotiations,
Yeah.
important meetings,
Mhm.
or when you're trying to build a new relationship.
Exactly. And then look for opportunities to make small strategic gestures of honesty or generosity.
Mm-hmm.
Something that feels significant to the other person,
Right.
but doesn't cost you much.
Can you give us some concrete examples? I think our listeners would would appreciate some real world scenarios to kind of illustrate this.
Of course. Let's say you're in a heated debate
Yeah. Yeah.
and tempers are flaring.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of doubling down on your position, consider conceding a minor point to show you're fair-minded
Right.
and willing to listen.
So you're disarming their aggression with your own willingness to compromise.
Right. Or imagine you're trying to build trust with someone who's initially hesitant.
Okay.
Sharing a personal story or a vulnerability
Yeah.
can demonstrate your sincerity and create a sense of connection.
It's like saying, "Hey, I'm not perfect."
Right.
And I'm not afraid to show it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of authenticity can be incredibly disarming.
Precisely. And if you're leading a team offering unexpected praise
Mm-hmm.
or a small reward can boost morale and foster loyalty.
Right.
It shows you value their contributions
Yeah.
and you're invested in their well-being.
It reinforces the idea that you're not just focused on results, right?
Mhm.
You're a human being who
Mm.
cares about the people around you.
Exactly. The key is to make these gestures feel natural and genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Forced or calculated acts of honesty or generosity will backfire.
Right.
Subtlety and authenticity are paramount.
So it's not about manipulating people into doing what you want, right?
Mhm.
It's about cultivating an environment of trust and reciprocity
Mhm.
where everyone feels valued and respected.
Well said.
Yeah.
And that brings us to some essential cautions and considerations.
Mm.
While these techniques can be incredibly effective, overuse can backfire.
Hmm.
If you're constantly giving or confessing, people may start to see you as weak
Right.
or even worse, manipulative.
Like the boy who cried wolf, right? If you're always being generous or honest, those gestures lose their impact.
Precisely. The goal is to use them strategically, not indiscriminately.
Mm-hmm.
Too much honesty can overwhelm, and too much generosity can create dependence or a sense of entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
Balance is key.
Balance is key, and it's crucial to remember that these gestures should always serve your larger goals, right?
Mhm.
You're not giving things away or revealing truths just for the sake of it.
Absolutely. You must stay in control,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that every act of honesty or generosity reinforces your position
Right.
and advances your objectives.
So it sounds like, mastering Law 12 is a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Knowing when to reveal, when to hold back,
Mhm.
and how to calibrate your actions
Mhm.
to achieve the desired effect.
It's subtle art, no doubt.
Yeah.
But when wielded skillfully, it can be an incredibly powerful tool for navigating the complexities of power dynamics
Mm-hmm.
and achieving your goals.
And on that note, we'll continue our exploration of Law 12 after a quick word from our sponsors.
Welcome back. As we're talking about this, it occurs to me that some people might misinterpret Law 12
Mm-hmm.
as a license to be manipulative or even deceptive.
That's a valid concern,
Yeah.
and it's important to emphasize that Law 12 is not about being dishonest,
Right.
or using generosity as a weapon. It's about recognizing that honesty and generosity can be powerful tools for building trust and influencing people.
So it's not about being fake or putting on a show. No.
It's about being strategic and intentional with your actions.
Exactly. Think of it like a game of chess.
Okay.
You wouldn't reveal your entire strategy to your opponent, right?
Right.
You'd make calculated moves designed to give you an advantage.
So with Law 12, you're not trying to trick people. You're simply being mindful
Mm.
of how your actions might be perceived and how you can use them to create a more favorable outcome.
Precisely. It's about understanding the psychology of persuasion
Mm-hmm.
and using that knowledge to your advantage.
Okay. So let's say you're in a situation where someone is trying to take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
How can you use Law 12 to kind of protect yourself and regain control?
Well, in those situations, a well-placed act of honesty can be surprisingly effective.
Okay.
Imagine someone is trying to pressure you into something you're not comfortable with.
Like a pushy salesperson
Exactly.
or a manipulative colleague.
Exactly. Instead of getting defensive or aggressive,
Yeah.
try responding with a calm and direct statement of your position.
Something like, I appreciate your perspective, but I need more time to consider my options.
Yes, that's a great example. By
Yeah.
by being honest and assertive, you're establishing boundaries and taking back control of the situation.
It's like you're saying, I'm not gonna play your game.
Hmm.
I'm gonna play by my own rules.
And that can be very disarming,
Mhm.
especially for people who are used to getting their way through manipulation or intimidation.
So honesty can be a powerful shield.
Mm.
Now, what about generosity?
All right.
How can we use that strategically to regain control in a difficult situation?
Generosity can be particularly effective when you're dealing with someone who feels wronged or slighted.
Like if you've made a mistake
Mm.
and you need to mend fences.
Exactly. A sincere apology
Mhm.
coupled with a gesture of goodwill can work wonders in those situations.
So it's not just about saying I'm sorry.
Mm.
It's about demonstrating your remorse through action.
Precisely. Maybe you offer to help them with something, or you make a small concession
Hmm.
that shows you're willing to go the extra mile.
So it's about acknowledging their feelings and taking responsibility for your actions.
And that can be incredibly disarming because it shows you're genuinely invested in making things right.
You're not trying to sweep things under the rug, right?
Mm.
You're willing to put in the effort to repair the relationship.
Which creates a sense of reciprocity.
Hmm.
They're more likely to be generous and understanding in return.
So it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
You regain control of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
and you strengthen the relationship at the same time.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of Law 12. It's not about zero-sum games or winners and losers. It's about finding ways to create mutually beneficial outcomes.
Now, we've talked about using honesty and generosity defensively to protect ourselves and regain control. But what about using these tactics proactively
Okay.
to build relationships and advance our goals?
That's where the selective part of Law 12 becomes crucial. It's not about being um, indiscriminately honest or generous with everyone all the time.
Because as we discussed earlier, that can backfire
Mhm.
and make you appear weak or insincere.
Exactly. It's about being strategic and thoughtful in your approach.
Yeah.
It's about identifying those key relationships that are essential to your success.
So your boss, your mentor,
Mhm.
your key clients.
Precisely. And then it's about finding ways to nurture those relationships through carefully chosen acts of honesty and generosity.
So what kind of gestures are we talking about here?
It it could be something as simple as offering a genuine compliment
Mm-hmm.
or expressing appreciation for their work.
Or maybe doing them a small favor or offering your help with a project.
Exactly. Or it could be something more significant, like sharing a piece of valuable information,
Mm.
or making an introduction that could benefit them.
So it's about going above and beyond
Hmm.
to demonstrate your commitment to the relationship.
And it's important to remember that these gestures don't have to be grand or expensive.
Mm.
It's the thought that
The
counts.
sincerity behind the action is what really matters,
Precisely. People can sense when you're being genuine,
right?
and they appreciate it.
Okay, so we've covered how to use Law 12 defensively to protect ourselves
Mhm.
and proactively to build relationships. But let's be honest, there's an ethical dimension to this law that we can't ignore.
Absolutely. There's a fine line between using these techniques for good
Right.
and using them for manipulation.
So how can we ensure that we're staying on the right side of that line?
I think it comes down to intent.
Okay.
If your primary motivation is to help others
Mm-hmm.
and build genuine relationships, then you're on the right track.
But if you're using honesty and generosity as a way to exploit people or get something you don't deserve, that's when you've crossed the line.
Exactly. It's crucial to be self-aware and check your motives.
Mm.
Are you acting out of genuine goodwill, or are you trying to manipulate the situation to your advantage?
I think it's also important to be mindful of the power dynamics at play, right? If you're in a position of authority, you need to be extra careful uh, not to create a situation where people feel pressured
Hmm.
to reciprocate your generosity.
Absolutely. It's about using your power responsibly and ethically.
So Law 12 is a powerful tool,
Hmm.
but it's a tool that demands careful consideration and a strong moral compass.
It's like any tool. It can be used for good or for evil. It all depends on the intentions of the person wielding it.
Well said. Now I know we've been talking a lot about the strategic aspects of Law 12, but I think it's worth emphasizing that there's also a personal growth dimension
Mm.
to this law.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
By becoming more aware of how we use honesty and generosity, we can become more authentic and effective communicators.
Right. We can build stronger relationships and create more win-win situations in our lives.
Exactly. And we can also become more discerning when it comes to other people's motives.
Yeah.
We can learn to recognize when someone is trying to use Law 12 against us.
Which is a valuable skill in today's world where manipulation and deception are rampant.
Absolutely. By understanding the principles of Law 12, we can protect ourselves from those who would seek to exploit us.
So it's not just about using these techniques ourselves, right? It's also about being aware of how they can be used against us.
And by becoming more conscious of these dynamics, we can navigate the world with greater confidence and wisdom.
Now, before we move on, I want to address something we touched upon earlier.
Okay.
The ethical implications of using Law 12.
Yes, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that there will always be a certain level of gray area when it comes to using these techniques.
Yeah, because ultimately it comes down to individual judgment and interpretation.
Exactly. What one person might consider a harmless act of persuasion, another might see as manipulation.
So it's up to each of us to define our own ethical boundaries and to use these techniques in a way that aligns with our values.
Precisely. And that might require some soul searching and introspection.
Right.
Because it's not always easy to be objective about our own motives.
Right.
But it's essential to do so if we want to use Law 12 responsibly and ethically.
Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But I want to make sure that we leave our listeners with some practical takeaways.
Absolutely. So let's recap some key points. First, remember that Law 12 is all about perception. It's about creating the appearance of honesty and generosity to disarm your opponent and advance your agenda.
But it's not about being fake or deceptive.
Right. It's about being strategic and intentional with your actions.
Exactly. And remember that selectivity is key. Don't overuse these tactics or they'll lose their impact.
Choose your moments carefully.
Yeah.
And make sure every gesture serves a specific purpose.
And most importantly, always check your motives. Are you acting out of genuine goodwill, or are you trying to manipulate the situation to your advantage?
If your intentions are pure, then I think you're on the right track.
Absolutely. Now, I know some listeners might be thinking, this all sounds very, very calculated and Machiavellian. Right. isn't there a simpler way to live?
Yeah.
And to those listeners, I would say yes, of course.
Yeah.
There's always the option of being completely open and transparent with everyone all the time.
Right.
But in the real world,
Yeah.
that approach can sometimes backfire.
It can. It can make you vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation.
So while Law 12 might seem a bit cynical at first glance,
Hmm.
I think it's a valuable tool for navigating the complexities of human interaction.
It's about understanding the rules of the game
Hmm.
and using them to your advantage.
Without compromising your integrity or your values.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot
Hmm.
between authenticity and strategy.
And I think that's a skill worth mastering.
Absolutely. It's a skill that can benefit us in all areas of our lives.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Oh, I like this. Tell me more.
Think about an upcoming situation
Okay.
where you could apply Law 12.
Hmm.
It could be a negotiation, a presentation,
Oh.
or even just a casual conversation with a friend.
And then consider how you can use selective honesty and generosity to create a more favorable outcome.
Don't be afraid to experiment and see what works for you.
And remember, the goal is not to manipulate people. It's to connect with them on a deeper level and build relationships that are mutually beneficial.
So go out there and put Law 12 into practice
Mm-hmm.
and see what kind of magic you can create.
I can't wait to hear about your successes.
Now, after a brief message, we'll be back to finish up our deep dive into Law 12.
Mm.
With some final thoughts and insights, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been kind of unpacking one of the most intriguing laws from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. And as we've seen, it's a law that's all about perception, timing, and understanding the subtle levers of human psychology.
Right, and we've talked about historical figures, like King Henry IV, John D. Rockefeller,
Right.
who masterfully used these tactics to achieve their goals,
Mm-hmm.
and we've explored how you can apply these principles in your own life to navigate challenging situations, build stronger relationships, and even advance your career.
Right, but before we wrap up, I think it's worth revisiting the ethical considerations surrounding this law,
Yeah.
because as with any tool, power can be used for good or for evil.
That's right. Just because we're learning about these strategies. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean we endorse using them to manipulate or exploit others.
Exactly. It's crucial to remember that the ultimate goal of Law 12 is to create win-win situations,
Right.
to build genuine connections and foster a spirit of collaboration.
So how can you ensure you're using this law ethically? I think it starts with being honest with yourself about your intentions.
Absolutely. Ask yourself, am I using these techniques to help others, or am I simply trying to get ahead at their expense?
And if you find yourself questioning your motives,
Mhm.
it might be a sign that you need to reevaluate your approach.
It's also important to be mindful of the power dynamics at play.
Hmm.
If you're in a position of authority, be especially careful not to abuse your influence.
Right. Don't use your power to pressure people into
Yeah.
doing things they wouldn't otherwise
Yeah.
do. Instead, focus on building trust and creating an environment where people feel valued and respected.
Because ultimately those are the foundations of any successful relationship,
Hmm.
whether it's in business or in your personal life.
Well said.
Hmm.
Now, as we bring this deep dive to a close, I wanted to leave you with one final thought.
I'm all ears.
The true power of Law 12 lies not in its ability to manipulate others, but in its potential to transform ourselves.
That's an interesting perspective. Tell me more.
By studying this law, we become more aware of our own motivations and how our actions impact those around us.
Mm,
We learn to communicate more effectively and build more authentic connections.
right.
And we develop a deeper understanding of the subtle dance of power that shapes so much of human interaction.
So it's not just about getting what we want,
Mm,
right? It's about becoming more conscious, more compassionate, and more skillful in navigating the complexities of life.
precisely. And that's a journey worth embarking on.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. So to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Law 12. We hope you found it insightful and thought provoking.
And remember, the power to create positive change lies within each of us.
So go out there and use your newfound knowledge wisely.
Until next time.
Goodbye, everyone.